Hello students, welcome to the analysis of board paper for commercial studies. We've already discussed a few points before, but due to some time constraints, we were not able to do it in detail. So today we bring to you this video that will tell you in detail what are the things that is expected out of you while you attempt your commercial studies paper. Moving on, students, by now, you're very familiar with what the paper pattern is. Now, section A usually consists of the very first question, which is a distinguish between question. Now, 10 marks is allocated to distinguish between question. And there are about 5 questions under distinguish between, which has to be attempted by you, and it is a compulsory question. So students, what are the things that you must keep in mind while attempting this particular section? First of all, when you start attempting your paper, write the name of the section that you're attempting first. If you're attempting for section A first, write section A on top. If you're opting for section B, then write section B on top, like it is shown on your respective screens. Now, solving question 1A. Now, the question is distinguish between stakeholders and shareholders. Yeah. Now, students, the very first thing that you must remember when you attempt a distinguish between question is that the basis of distinction or the points of distinction has to be there, which is very, very compulsory, right? Second of all, the answer has to be always written in a table format rather than a paragraph format. So when you're writing the answers, make sure you do not end up writing in a paragraph format, but rather put it in a table so that you can present it well. Third of all, create complete sentences to support your distinguishing points instead of sticking to 1 or 2 words to support your distinguishing points. Make sure you frame a sentence and you convert it into a proper full sentence to support your answer. Lastly, since this concept is asked where you have to distinguish between stakeholders and shareholders, often it has been noticed that students get confused between the two terms, and therefore it is advisable that when you study these concepts, study them thoroughly, and during your revision also revise them thoroughly so that it is clear in your minds and you understand that these are two different terminologies and that you do not get confused between the two. Moving to the next question. Now students, suppose you have finished writing your question 1, right? You have finished writing all the distinguishing questions and now it is time for you to attempt the question 2. Students, you will take the question, the new question, to a next page, to a new page. Even if there is space left after question 1E, do not continue there. Take it to a new page. So each main question has to be started on a new page, like you can see on your screen, right? Now lay stress on the proper and correct use of commerce terminologies and use proper definitions in your answers. Yes, whenever there are questions relating to define, make sure you do not write the definitions in your own words, but rather stick to the textual definitions and try to write it as it is given in your textbook. Definitions must include keywords. Most important thing is that wherever possible, students try to include relevant examples. And of course, keywords have to be there in your answer. Now, for example, when you're writing a particular answer and you are writing it in your own words, try to include as many examples as possible, and also keywords have to be there even if you're writing the answer in your own words. Right? Now, for example, see over here, question 2B. The question is, what is social media advertising? Right? So this is how you will write the answer. You will explain what social media advertising is and also support your answer with examples, with suitable examples. For example, social media advertising includes advertising on social media, which is, for example, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Right? So the more examples you add, the more better your answer is. Students, for 2 marks, since it's a 2-mark question, since we're solving section A first, you know each sub-question constitutes 2 marks, and therefore for 2 marks, you will write 2 points. Always read the questions carefully and then start writing your answer. Okay. Now moving on to the next question. So to summarize section A, what are the things or the tips that you must keep in mind for your exam preparation? First of all, like we discussed, for 2 points have to be written for 2 marks. Now again, for if you're asked to explain 2 features of advertising, or if you're asked to explain the features for 2 marks, for any related concept, you will make sure that you create 2 points, as in 2 header points with suitable explanation for those 2 head points. That is how you will write your answer for 2 marks. Always write the basis of distinction in distinguish between questions. This is what we already discussed. Write the meaning or definition followed by relevant points in short or long questions. Leave a line after each answer to mark the beginning of a new answer. So this makes sure that it improves the presentation of your paper. Remember, students, presentation is also equally important. So make sure you leave good space between 2 different set of questions so that it is understood that it is a beginning of a new question or a new answer that you're attempting. Like we already discussed, new question has to be always taken on a new page. Now, when I say new question, it means new main question, not sub-question. Sub-question, you can continue on the same page if there is space left. Learn the expanded forms of subject-related acronyms like ERP, ATM, COPRA, RTI. Now, these are all acronyms which are very important from the exam point of view, and you must know the full forms, the proper full forms of these acronyms, right? So, what is ERP? It is Enterprise Resource Planning. ATM is Automatic Teller Machine, right? So, be well versed and well thorough with these acronyms and what their full forms are, right? Ways of consumer exploitation. When you attempt this answer, you are expected to write the answer including examples. This will enhance your answer. It will help you fetch better marks. Also makes your answer look more unique, right? And if possible, try to add real life examples. Try to add your experiences, but try to keep it short. Do not make your examples lengthy, but try to keep it short and simple. Now we move to section B. Now students, you very well know that section B has options, which means that you are expected to attempt any 4 main questions out of the given options that you have in section B. Yeah. Now, when you're attempting, now you're starting with a new section. Therefore, you will mention the name of the section on the top. So section B has to be mentioned on top. Now, let us attempt question 5A. Now, suppose question 5A says, the question is, what do you mean by e-commerce? So now here there are 2 different parts to the question. The first part says, what do you understand by e-commerce? And the second part says that, explain in detail the benefits of e-commerce over traditional methods of transaction. So when you attempt the question, make sure you read the question first properly, so that you're clear in your mind what are the things that is expected out of you while you write this answer, so that you do not miss out any part of the question and you can answer it properly. Okay. Now students, since this is a 5-mark question, it is obvious that you have to write 5 points for 5 marks. Now when I say 5 points, it means header points with suitable explanations for those. Right? Answers neatly, because like I said, presentation also matters. Head points must be written like it is given in your textbook. Those head points must be written. It must be properly underlined, and then you must write suitable respective explanation to those 5 header points. Okay. number your questions properly. Many students tend to forget, or they tend to write the wrong question numbers or sub-question numbers, which creates confusion while correcting the papers. So students, it is advisable that when you're attempting your answer paper, write the question number as well as a sub-question properly. Okay. Next, go through all the functions of central bank in detail. Now, it has been noticed that students tend to make mistakes in this particular answer. Why? Because there are diverse functions of central bank. Okay, and when one particular specific function is asked and you're supposed to explain that particular function, students do not read the question correctly and they end up writing some other function of the central bank. So care must be taken that while you read the question, you understand what is asked of you and you write down what is expected out of you. So it is advisable that you do not leave out any function of the central bank for option. Instead, learn all the points, all the functions thoroughly, because it is very, very important from the board point of view. Read the question carefully, like I said, and underline the keywords and lay emphasis on the keywords. Like over here, you can see under monopoly of note issue, the keyword is exclusive rights, because central bank is the only institution that has the only rights to mint money. That is your keyword, right? Second, government bank. Again, how does it act as a government's bank? As a banker, as a fiscal agent, as an advisor. Now, these are all key points that must be included in your answer. So you can see, as it is presented to you on your screen, this handwritten paper, you will see that the answer is written beautifully well, and at the same time, all the keywords that are supposed to be there, supposed to be a part of the answer, is all highlighted to show to the paper corrector that yes, the child has written all the important points that are supposed to be a part of the answer. Right? Now, students, moving to the most important part of your CS paper, that is your question number 10, which is accounting sums. Right? Students, accounting sums, when you're attempting the accounting sums, make sure that you follow the proper format. First of all, the very first thing that you have to draw is your trading account. Now, this is what the format of the trading. Now, this is a sum that has been solved for you all. Okay. This is what the format of the trading account looks like. First of all, your very first sentence should be in the books of XYZ Enterprises. Whatever name is given in your question paper, whatever name of the enterprise is given, make sure you add that. So in the books of, now in this case, it is ABC Enterprises, so add ABC Enterprises. Next line would be trading account, and then for the year ended. Remember, students, for trading account and profit and loss account, the format is for the year ended and whatever date year is given, right? And then you have these 4 columns which consist of particulars, amount, particulars, and amount, right? This is the format. You are aware of what are the entries, which entries are supposed to be recorded in which account. We have revised this in class. So make sure you're thorough with the entries, and this is what the format of your trading account looks like, okay? And it is a 10-mark question that you're aware of. So it is highly scoring, students. So make sure you practice your accounting sums regularly. Stress upon the format of trading, profit and loss, as well as your balance sheet. They have different formats. So please make sure that you are well versed with the format, because it has been noticed by the board that many students tend to mess up the format of the accounting sums. They tend to create their own format, which is not advisable, honestly. So please stick to the format that is given in your textbook. Pay attention to the procedure of closing stock adjustments. This is very, very important. Usually what happens is that closing stock is an adjustment, right? Now, closing stock is given at the end of the question. So students tend to miss that out. They do not pay attention to it because it is given in one sentence at the end of the sum. So many times students tend to forget to make the entries of the closing stock adjustments into their final accounts. Now, students, pay attention. The closing stock has two entries. Since it's an adjustment, it has two entries. First of all, it will go to your trading account, like you can see on your screen. It goes to your trading account on the credit side, and it will be written as buy closing stock. Remember to record it in your trading account credit side, right? Buy closing stock. So this is your first entry. Now, remember that trading account helps you find out the gross profit. You can see over here, gross profit. So trading account helps you to find out the gross profit or the gross loss. If the institution, if the organization or the business has earned profit, then it is gross profit. If they have earned loss, then it is a gross loss. But whatever the terminology is, gross profit or gross loss, remember that. Yeah. Now, whatever gross profit or loss you get, it has to be transferred to the next account. Now, what is your next account that you have to create right after your trading account? Yes, it is the profit and loss account. So moving on to the profit and loss account, students, this is the format for your profit and loss account. It is almost similar to your trading account. Instead, the heading will be profit and loss account for the year ending. Again, the same format for the year ending. Particulars amount. Yeah. Now, if you see gross profit, like I told you, which you got from your trading account, was transferred onto your profit and loss account. Now, since it was profit, it was transferred to the credit side of the profit and loss account. Yeah, you can see over here on the screen. So it was recorded over here. Now you balance out. You get your net profit. Again, what you see over here is that in profit and loss account, you find the net profit. In trading account, you found out the gross profit. In profit and loss, you found out the net profit. So be very clear with what profit you derive where, in which account. Yeah. So create the profit and loss account properly. Remember that profit and loss finds out the net profit or net loss. Yeah. Now this, whatever net profit or net loss that you found out, has to be transferred onto your balance sheet. So we move to balance sheet. So this is the final stage of your final accounts, which is your balance sheet. And like I've mentioned, balance sheet consists, it is a statement, it is not an account. So please make sure you do not write balance sheet account, unlike the previous two, because balance sheet is a statement. It's a financial statement, right? It's a statement showing your assets, your liabilities, right? So it consists of the liabilities and it consists of the assets. So include closing. Now, like I said, closing stock is an adjustment. You have to make two entries. First entry we did at the beginning in trading account credit side, and the second entry will be under assets in your balance sheet. So make sure you make two entries out of your closing stock. Yeah, please do not forget to include it into your accounting sums, because if you do not, then your accounts might not tally and you might lose out marks. Now, to summarize, what are the things that what we saw is expected in section B? Start section B on a new page in the answer sheet, right? Now, since it is a 5-mark question, you will write 5 points with header points and suitable explanation for 5 marks. So write your explanation in such a way that it justifies for the 5 marks, right? Now, use the last page of your answer sheets as a working page to do the calculations. Now, of course, when you're doing final accounts, you need to do calculations. You need to tally up. You need to find out the profits, the gross profit, the net profit, right? So you can do all the calculations. You can save the last page of the answer supplement and you can use it to do the calculation. Always write those answers first which you're thorough with. So there are some answers that you know you can do it, you can write it very well. Go with those answers because you'll be able to finish writing those answers faster as compared to those answers which you're not very sure of and you still try to write it. You end up taking a lot of time behind it, right? So always attempt those answers which you're thorough with first. Underline the keywords again in section B under long answers too. Keywords are important and therefore you underline each of the keywords in the last 15 minutes while you're checking your paper. credit card fraud and precautions to be taken while using a credit card are two different concepts, students. It has been seen, it has been analyzed that students in the past have confused between the two, have gotten confused between the two concepts. Credit card fraud is a different concept, and the precautions that you must take care or you must take while using a credit card is a different concept. So these are two different answers. So when you're studying, make sure that you study these, understand it properly, and then study, so that when you're attempting a paper and you're faced with either of the two questions, you are well aware of what is expected to write from you. The concept of features of Consumer Protection Act are again confused with consumer rights. So these two concepts are also usually confused. So make sure when you're studying, when you're attempting your question paper, you're clear as to what is asked and then accordingly write your answer. That is why it is, I'm emphasizing again and again, where you read your question paper, read it properly with full concentration, understand what is asked, and then start writing your answer. Now, this is what your 2020 board paper, Commercial Studies board paper was all about. Yeah. So these are the questions. Now, this is just for you to look at. This is the accounting sum. You can practice this accounting sum. You can take the sum and you can practice it. It will improve your accounting, right? Now, of course, there are a huge amount of cancellations that has been done by the board this year. So all of the questions that you see on your screen might not be there for you in the syllabus. But you can still look at the important questions that are still there in scope, and you can study those questions or concepts thoroughly. Now, from the comparison that we did from 2019 and 2020 question papers, board question papers for commercial studies. Now, there are several important topics we thought would be better if we told you about it. So under section A, that is for distinguish between your first question, these are the important set of topics. You will see that marketing and sales is very frequently asked in the past years, right? Shares and debentures, another important concept. If not shares and debentures, they might ask equity and preference shareholders, right? Product and services. If not product and services, that they might ask advertising and sales promotion, right? Debit card, credit card, NEFT, RTGS. So these are all important concepts when it comes to distinguish between. Of course, central bank and commercial bank. This distinguish between also is very important, and it was repeated in 2 consecutive years, that is 2019 board paper as well as 2020 board paper also. You will see that distinguish between central and commercial bank was asked. So that is very important. Next important concept that you can do for short answers is the concepts of e-marketing, e-advertising, e-tailing, e-security. Concept of banking, yeah. So all banking related concepts, make sure you're thorough with it. Now that includes your NEFT, mobile wallets, credit cards, debit cards, ATM, right? So make sure you learn these banking related concepts very well, because they have the potential to be asked for 2 marks. Now, very, very important question, the meaning of ERP, the definition of advertising, marketing, what is consumer exploitation, these all have the potential to be asked for 2 marks. What are the reasons and what are the forms of in which the consumer is exploited? Again, it has the potential to be asked for 2 marks as well as for 5 marks. Concept of sources of finance related concepts. So what are the things that will come over here? What is the meaning of capital markets? What are shares? What are debentures? What are preference shares? What is discounting bill of exchange? So make sure you learn all these small concepts, because they have the potential to be asked as short answers, and they're very important from the board point of view. Now, talking of important topics for long answers, objectives of pricing is very important. Functions of advertising agency, again, important. Importance of advertising, expectation of various stakeholders. Now, this is your first chapter. And you know, first chapter is full of expectations and distinguish between questions, right? So make sure you study your first chapter very well. It is quite easy, and learn the different expectations of different stakeholders very well. Another important question is ERP and its modules. So when you're writing the answer, when you're explaining the different modules in an ERP, make sure you include their functionalities as well. You know, at least 3 to 4 functionalities are included under that module, right? Accounting sums, yes, that is another important topic. So solve as many sums as you can and keep practicing. This will help you become faster, and it will help you complete solving a sum in a shorter period of time. Now, what are the things that you must keep in mind? Solve previous year's board papers in writing. Okay, this helps you to develop writing skills, which includes your speed, your good handwriting, your spelling, your grammar, your punctuation. All of this will improve, and that is why, please, now this is the stage where you must start attempting question papers. You must start solving as many previous year board papers as possible. So these are the benefits of doing so. It will help your writing skills to improve. It helps you make aware of the kind of questions that can be expected, how a question is asked, what are the topics that is very frequently asked, what are the important topics that, you know, is important from the board point of view. So all of this is, you will become aware of it when you start solving the previous year's paper. Now, while solving the board paper, if possible, keep the time between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. because this is the ideal time when the board papers or board exams are conducted. So if possible, try to attempt during that time slot. It will give you the feeling as if you're attempting a board paper, and be very serious when you're attempting the paper or when you're solving the paper, as though as if you're writing your board exam, right? Thank you, students. I hope you will keep in mind all of the things that I discussed, and you will implement it in your papers. Thank you, students.